Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. And we call it silly season, don't we? The transfer window is open. Not that that stops teams doing anything outside of the transfer window, but this is a chance where every day we get to have a look at what's happening in the world of transfers. Some are going to be concrete stories, some are links, some are rumours, but some of them are quite funny. Some of them are a little bit odd. But you know what? There's going to be a lot of them. We're talking about transfers. We're talking about transfers throughout this summer. We all love the transfer window. We all hate the transfer window. It's one of those ones that when it opens, everyone from every club is a little bit excited. What is my team going to do? What are we going to do? Now, if you support a team like I do in Tottenham Hotspur, the transfer window can be very, very frustrating, almost like we know how it works. If you support other clubs, it's a little bit more entertaining, isn't it? Where you see that your club have £100 million bids. You see that your club goes bish, bash, bosh, and gets transfers done quickly. So today we're going to look at three main stories and then have a little look around Plettenberg, Romano and Ornstein, three well-trusted people in the transfer window, three brilliant journalists in their own right, influencers, journalists, whatever you want to say. And let's see what they are saying about the transfers. Let's see the information that we can get. Now, the first one is a very interesting story, and it's a player that Spurs have come up against this season. The transfer is not to do with Spurs. Sorry for any Spurs fans out there watching. But this is the story that involves Ekitike, Hugo Ekitike, who is Frankfurt's prized possession. It was Omar Marmoush, but obviously we know that Omar Marmoush left in January. He went to Man City. And now Hugo Ekitike is the prized possession of Frankfurt Football Club. Now, we all knew that Chelsea needed centre forwards. They've gone out early doors. We all know what Chelsea are. You know, Chelsea are the equivalent of, you know, when you were at school and there was always that kid that got the PlayStation first. He got new trainers every day. You know, he had the best football that he'd bring to the playground. Chelsea are that kid. Chelsea can't wait for transfer windows. They just go in. Right, they just go in and bulldoze their way through a transfer market. So this is what Florian Plettenberg said yesterday. So about 21 hours ago, he said that Chelsea are currently working on a verbal agreement with Hugo Ekitike. Now, the key word there being a verbal agreement with Ekitike, because again, transfers don't begin between the two football clubs. It's not as simple as one club ringing up another and saying, hey, we want Hugo Ekitike. The conversations first will be had with the agent and the player themselves. Once they've got the green light that that player would be interested in the move, then the talks happen between the two clubs. Plettenberg has gone on to say there has already been initial contact with Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, Frankfurt are still demanding 100 million euros. It's crazy. When you say it like that, it's almost not real. 100 million euros for a man running around, kicking a bit of leather on grass. But that's where we are. That's the world. It said it remains open whether Chelsea and Frankfurt will reach an agreement. The next steps are already planned. Now, this is an interesting one. I'm going to remove that off the screen for a second and we'll have a little look at Hugo Ekitike and his career. But when we look at Ekitike, we've seen him firsthand, Spurs fans. Good striker, strong, brilliant with his hold-up play. I thought his hold-up play was brilliant whenever I saw him play this season, whether it was against Spurs or in the Bundesliga. And this, you could say, was his breakout season. So let's have a little look, shall we? This is Hugo Ekitike. Let's have a look. You can see here. Let's go to the top of his Wikipedia page. So Hugo Ekitike, we know he's French and we know he plays for Frankfurt. We all knew that. 22 years of age. He's going to be 23 in about 15 days, if my maths works out. And we know he's a good size, he's a good build, good hold-up play. And up until this season, he's not been a prolific striker. We can actually see if we go down to his career stats, he's not been prolific anywhere that he's been. And he has been floating around for someone so young. You know, he's had, I'll say 1 year at Ream. I don't believe that I can say that 2 appearances in the 2020-2021 season are enough to say that he's played a whole season of football. He got 26 games in all competitions in 21-22, scoring 11 goals. Then went on loan to then went on loan to Paris Saint-Germain, where he got 4 goals in 32 appearances. I know he was highly thought of, but only got 4 goals in 32 appearances. Then the next year, he was sent out on loan to Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, he got 4 goals in 16 games. And you're probably looking at these stats and going, well, why is this guy 100 million? Why is this striker 100 million pounds, 100 million euros? Well, it's quite simple, isn't it? The transfer market is skewed. It's stuffed. It's gone. There aren't many goal scorers anymore. So what happens is someone has a good season, and you can see there that Ekitike last season, 48 games in all competitions for Frankfurt. He got 22 goals. It's a good return. It's not earth-shattering. But you can see from that he is now one of very few strikers that does have a 20-plus goal season in them. Strikers these days don't tend to be getting that many goals. Now, automatically, what that's done is it's put his price up, and it's alerted football clubs that, hey, this is a guy for the future. And more often than not, what you're paying for now is the potential with strikers. We saw it, didn't we? Rasmus Højlund had one decent, if that, season in Italy, and suddenly he's moving to Manchester United for 70-odd million, whatever they paid. It used to be that if you were paying 70 million, 100 million for a player, you were getting absolute class. Years and years, 30 goals a season. Nowadays, the market simply doesn't work like that. So Hugo Ekitike to Chelsea, interested to know your thoughts. I like him as a footballer. I think he's got great footwork. He can float out to the left, through the middle. He's got nice finishing, but 100 million euros. And what does this tell us? This tells us that now a player is worth whatever a club can get for them, not necessarily what is a player worth, if that makes any sense to you at all. So if we move away from Ekitike, now there's been a number of reports. Let me bring this up. Let me see if I can find this. We'll bring this back up. Here we go. And we will move away from Plettenberg. And what we're going to do is we're going to move to Fabrizio Romano. And there will be loads and loads of things about this. So let me see if I can get to it quickly. Fabrizio Romano has said, here we go. So this story kind of encapsulates what I want to talk about. Now, we know, let's get a bit of backstory on this. We know that Inter Milan have lost Simone Inzaghi, and he's going to Al Hilal in Saudi, and they are going to give him 26 million euros a year. Let that sink in. 26 million euros a year. Obviously, Inzaghi's done good things at Inter. He leaves them after failing to win the Serie A and losing the Champions League final. And now, all of a sudden, he has gone. And Inter Milan are looking for a new manager. Now, the hot favourite has always been Cesc Fabregas. Now, the Como president has said this. He has said, we have communicated our refusal directly to the president of Inter Milan, who has recognised it with a courtesy and clarity that is expected among clubs that have mutual respect. For this reason, we treat Rumours insistent on, let me just quickly go there and see what insistent on their interest in our coach as pure fancy. Hardly anyone would insist after such a clean answer, especially a club of the caliber of Inter. And I guess what we know from this is he's actually calling out Inter Milan and basically saying, hey, we've told you that Cesc Fabregas is not available. Please do not court him anymore. Now, we all know that football doesn't work like that. Or does it? Because in the last few hours, Christian Chivu, who was a good defender, by the way, if anyone's as old as me and can remember that, Christian Chivu has become the favourite to take the Inter Milan job. We'll get back to some of these stories in a minute. Now, if we look at Christian Chivu, here we go. So this is what Romano said 42 minutes ago. Christian Chivu has stopped the negotiations over a new deal at Parma as he is waiting for Inter Milan. Inter and Parma have been in contact today for Chivu as the main option after the Como statement on Cesc Fabregas. Chivu is now waiting for Inter's final decision and green light. Now, I'll tell you what I find really, really funny about this, right? And this is what I find so funny about this. Inter Milan are one of the biggest clubs in world football. Of that, there is no doubt. There is no doubt. But I thought to myself, let me go and have a look at Christian Chivu. And Christian Chivu has managed, listen, we know he was a great player, Romanian international, played for some big clubs. Christian Chivu has managed about 13 games of football. Let me just double check that what I'm saying is true. Sorry if there's a bit of background noise. Apologies. The dog's going crazy. Christian Chivu, if I have a look at him here, has managed, here we go. He's managed Parma for 13 games, right? 13 games of which he won 3, drew 7, lost 3. So this man has 13 senior games as a manager. The rest of his management career has been managing Inter Milan's youth setup. Now, obviously, this is Inter Milan and they know him. This would almost be the equivalent of promoting somebody from a youth team to a senior team. But this, for me, is all a little bit strange. Just as it is that we've only got 44 likes from 250 people in here. That's a bit strange. But for me, this is all a bit strange. Why are Inter Milan suddenly going from managers like Inzaghi and they're suddenly moving towards Fabregas, who's got 1 year under his belt at Como? Suddenly going for people like Christian Chivu, who has got 13 games under his belt as manager. Apologies for that noise. I can hear it. I can see it on my mic going up and down. Apologies. Christian Chivu has had 13 games. Fabregas has had 1 season. So why are Inter Milan suddenly looking for a younger manager with less experience? It just all seems a little bit odd. It seems very, very odd. I know Cesc Fabregas did well in his first season, but it seems strange. What are the days when top European powerhouses used to take very experienced coaches? But we'll leave that one there. I just thought that was a very interesting one. The next story has been floating around, and it is Mohamed Kudus to Chelsea. Now, there's no solid source for this. So this forms into where I say about daily transfer news and rumours. The rumour mill is rife that Kudus is wanted by Chelsea to reinforce their forward line. Now, let's have a little look, shall we? Let's have a look at Mohamed Kudus, because this is an interesting one. I really, really like Mohamed Kudus as a footballer. I was absolutely gutted when Mohamed Kudus was signed by West Ham instead of my club, Tottenham Hotspur. So what we can see here is in 224 games, he's got 60 goals. Now, it's not the worst return in the world. It's not the worst return at all. But the question will be, has he scored so few goals because he's at West Ham? Or has he scored so few goals because he's not a natural goal scorer? We know he's a brilliant footballer. We know he's quick. We know he's skillful. We know he's strong. We know he's an entertainer. But Is this what Chelsea need? I saw reports talking about 70, 80 million. And again, I don't know if that is true. But if it is, it's a lot of money to pay. But for me, I think it's a player that really could flourish, could really, really flourish at Chelsea. And that comes down to the management of Maresca. Can he get Madueke? Can he get Neto, Palmer, Delap, Jackson, Kudus, Ekitike? Can he get all of those players enough games? Can he keep them happy? Can he rotate them? Because that is surely the art of a top manager. That is surely the art. It's what Pep Guardiola has done brilliantly throughout his career at Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man City. He has a big squad of players. He keeps them happy, gets them game time. But many managers, don't seem to be able to do that. Please excuse me. Feel like I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. Apologies. Can Maresca do this? Now, we know Maresca's quite an inexperienced manager as well. So can Maresca get the best out of all these players? What do you guys think? Kudus to Chelsea? Has it got legs in it? Thank you, Mustafa, for saying, bless you. Thank you very much. Can he get the best out of these players? Can he find a way to get them all game time and playing together? Now, I like Kudus, as I said, and West Ham probably won't want to lose him, but I think it will be a great signing for Chelsea. That's just me. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to now look at all of the main stories from today across the world of transfers. And absolutely, Angus, hay fever today is absolutely killing me. You can hear I'm very bunged up, and I'm sure it's affecting many of you as well. Thank you, Angus. Thank you. So if I now share my screen and we'll look at Fabrizio Romano and look at the latest stories. Bear with me 1 second while we bring that up. Here we go. Bear with me 1 second. Here we go. Let's go there. So if we look at Fabrizio Romano, what he's saying, and obviously he's normally the go-to guy, and we'll have a look at Plettenberg in a minute. But again, I talked about this guy on my transfer video yesterday, that I understand that Franco Mastantuono has decided to join Real Madrid, and his dream is Real Madrid. All parties are informed with personal terms in place. PSG remain there, but apparently he is going to join Real Madrid. He is 17, and if anyone hasn't seen this player play, go and watch him play. This is a very, very good 17-year-old. I'm looking at that picture, and I don't think he looks 17, but this is definitely one worth watching for anyone who likes going to see players. The next story kind of does have a little twinge of Tottenham Hotspur in it, without being about Spurs. So if we look here, Romano has said, and this was only half an hour ago, Atletico Madrid have reached an agreement with Johnny Cardoso on personal terms and are advancing in talks to get the deal done with Real Betis. The package deal is around 30 million euros, with bonuses and also potential players as part of the agreement now being discussed. Now, why has this got anything to do with our club, Tottenham? Well, it's quite simple. We had an agreement in place, didn't we, of first refusal, if I believe, for Johnny Cardoso. And that if we put a bid in, that Real Betis had to accept it. But the more you read about that deal in principle, the more you see that there was a lot that was swept under the carpet and that we weren't told about. And in essence, Johnny Cardoso will not be joining Tottenham Hotspur. He will be joining Atletico Madrid, or so it seems. Now, I don't think this is the end of the world. For me, I like Johnny Cardoso. I think he's a decent footballer. But do I think he's amazing? Do I think that he's going to transform Tottenham Hotspur's midfield? No, I don't believe that in any way, shape or form. Do I believe that 59 likes from 275 people is going to transform my channel? No, I don't. Get that to 100 ASAP. Please. Thank you very much. So Johnny Cardoso going to Atletico. Is anyone bothered? Did anyone want him at Tottenham Hotspur? Anyone that isn't a Spurs fan, how do you feel about this? For me, neat, tidy, doesn't reinvent the wheel for me. I don't think he's a needle mover, but fair play to him. If he's getting a move to Atletico Madrid and going to play for Diego Simeone, then clearly there is something about him. So let's move on to the next one, shall we? So as we can see down here, there we go. Look at this. This is a proper football club, isn't it? Manchester City. Fabrizio said 47 minutes ago, both Rayan Nuri and Tijani Rinders will be joining Man City in time for the FIFA Club World Cup. And you can see there that he's gone on to say that Nuri will have his medical on Saturday and Rinders will have his medical on Sunday. And it goes to show, these aren't even extortionate fees. Rinders is something like 45 million and Nuri is about 40 million. And I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds crazy because the normal human beings like me and probably most of you, 45 million sounds like a crazy amount of money. But in football, it really doesn't sound like a lot of money. So for me, I think that is two brilliant signings for 85 million. 85 million is going to get them Rinders and Nuri. Fair play to Man City on that one. Can I say I'm jealous? Yeah, I can. I like both those two players. The moment that Man City get involved, though, the moment the Man City get involved, it's done, isn't it, for everyone else? Now, let's look further down. We talked about Chivu. Let's have a look here. I don't care about AC Milan's academy. Some news that involves Arsenal is that former Juventus head of scouting and Granada director Matio Tagnosi currently in advanced talks to sign at Arsenal. He'd be part of the team working under Burton. Now, obviously, for any Arsenal fans out there, this is one. What do you think? I know we've got Angus in the chat. What do you guys think? Yeah? What do you guys think? How many players do I think we can buy? Well, I don't know. We're not buying anyone at the moment, are we? I don't know anything about Matio Tagnosi. I don't know anything about him. But Andrea Berta looks like he's putting a new shaped team in at Arsenal. And it looks like this is going to be one of his first acquisitions. Then as we scroll down, we know that upsets me to Johnny Rinders. Now, here's an interesting one. Victor Osman. Now, this guy seems to be in the news every single transfer window, doesn't he? Every single transfer window. What you hear is somebody is trying to get Victor Osman. And they said here, Victor Osman remains high on Al Hilal list as new striker with talks ongoing to bring in the Nigerian forward. Now, let's be brutally honest. Victor Osman going to Al Hilal doesn't surprise me one bit. And Al Hilal look like they're just doing this. They are just shopping and throwing money at managers, players. And for me, I'll be honest, I do find it a little bit sad. I do find it a little bit sad that so many players that are not at the end of their careers are going out to Saudi Arabia, going out to Qatar, and they are going out there because they're getting 700, 800 grand a week. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand if somebody rocked up to my house right now and said, do you want to go and live in Saudi Arabia for 1 year? We're going to give you 800 grand a week. I'm going to stomach it for a year or two. Of course, that's life-changing money. But these aren't poor. These are not poor footballers. These are players that are very handsomely paid. And for me, it almost feels a bit of a shame. I get it. I get it from a human point of view, from a financial point of view, but it's such a shame to see so many good players leaving Europe to go to a league where they're just going to come back. Jordan Henderson did it. Jota did it. Neves did it. Loads of these people have gone out there. It's not been a success. It's not worked. And they come back to Europe. Sammy has said his wife doesn't want to go to Saudi, apparently. You have to take that into account. I can sit here, and as I record this video, my wife is actually in this room working. I can guarantee if I said to her, we're going to Saudi Arabia for 2 years, I'm guessing I'm going to get the eyes of no. Maybe I can go on my own and pick up the 800 grand a week. I'm guessing that would work I'm guessing that would work. So they've said here that there's a 75 million release clause available. Al Hilal are working on the player side for a target, now also approved by the incoming manager, Simone Inzaghi. So it looks like Al Hilal are not messing about. They're getting their money out and they are throwing it everywhere. Let's have a look at the next one, shall we? We knew this, Nuri. 40 million euros, by the way, Nuri. 40 million euros. Real Madrid and Benfica in contact to reach full agreement on Alvaro Carreras. Deal as reported by Marcel Marca. He only wants Real Madrid. I don't know too much about him, so I'm not going to pretend I do. I don't know too much about this lad either. The Anderlecht have sent an official bid to Montreal for Canada international Nathan Saliba. The deal should be concluded at 2.7 million euros. Suso is in advanced talks to join Kudus. I believe it's pronounced Kudus without the Z, as free agent with negotiations at the final stage. And then we get down to more Al Hilal. The money out there must be sensational. Bill in the chat saying 800 grand, who needs a wife? I abstain from saying anything about that. Look, Romano said here that Al Hilal have clear targets for Osman, Edison of Atalanta, who many people in Europe would want, and also Teo Hernandez of Milan. Sources, though, are playing down any negotiations of talks for Francesco Acerbi, the centre-half of Inter Milan. So, again, keep an eye on that. 3 good players that look like they're leaving Europe to go out to play for Inzaghi at Al Hilal. Now, what we're also hearing, by the way, let me just see where it was. Lazio have confirmed that they have activated the 9 million euro buy clause for Nuno Tavares. Of course, he's an Arsenal player who's been on loan at Lazio. He will now make that move permanent, which I think will be a good deal for him and for Arsenal. And then I want to have a little look at Plettenberg, because there was a transfer story that I saw that I really thought was interesting just now. Let's see if it was Plettenberg indeed. Was it this one? No. Can't remember where it was. Here we go. So Bayer Leverkusen are monitoring Anthony. He's on the list, but at this stage, it's nothing more than that. Leverkusen boss Erik ten Hag, he was in charge of Man United when Anthony joined for over 80 million. And that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because Anthony didn't really perform well under Ten Hag. So it'll be interesting to see. Whether or not he can get the best out of him at a different club. Now, Anthony, for me, when I've watched him at Betis and I've watched him at Ajax, looks a very good player. Is he just another one that's gone to Man United and has got that kind of Manchester United curse where they can't get the best out of anyone? So we'll see. Keep an eye on that one from Florian Plettenberg. Plettenberg then said he's kind of gone against what Romano said, that saying that Acerbi is a candidate for Al Hilal. So one of them's right, one of them's wrong. But there was another story. This story was interesting this morning, that Luis Diaz is one of the main targets for Barcelona in the upcoming transfer window, despite the high overall cost and ongoing issues with registration. He says that initial talks regarding Diaz and Barcelona have taken place. Now, this is interesting because, and I'm going to come away from him now, and I'm going to go to David Ornstein, because if I'm not wrong, David Ornstein this morning said this. Yeah, I thought I was right. David Ornstein has said this. He has said, Liverpool rebuffed Barcelona's approach to discuss signing Luis Diaz. Now, again, let's go back to what I said at the beginning of this show. Again, let me get my grammar right. For there to have been an approach from Barcelona to Liverpool, it must have meant that they have spoken with Diaz and his camp and that Diaz would be keen on a move to the Catalonian Giants out there in Barcelona, obviously La Liga champions, to play for Thomas Flick. Now, it says here that Liverpool have rebuffed Barcelona's approach to discuss signing Diaz. Barcelona made contact yesterday, but Liverpool have been clear that he is not for sale. New contract unlikely. So unless bids land to change stance, the 28-year-old stays even if it leads to free agency. Now, I feel like that's a bit early because what we do know is that Luis Diaz has got 2 years left on his contract. So when we're talking about free agency, I mean, we're 2 years away from free agency, but if you are going to cash in, surely this would be the time. You've got Cody Gakpo that can play there. Liverpool are in the throes of buying everybody and anybody. Florian Wirtz is joining the club, who I know plays in a slightly different position, but gives them more attacking options. The question that I've got is, do Barcelona have the funds to make this happen? Do they have the funds to make this happen? Every year we hear that they've got no money. And every year, Barcelona somehow find something in the piggy bank. They always do, don't they? They signed this player, but he can't register. They always get them registered. Oh, they want to buy this player, they've got no money. They always get them. So this is one to definitely look out for. Ornstein hasn't said too much about that. And the only other thing we were hearing is that Man United's opening bid has been rejected by Brentford. Now, it's believed that the deal is up to 55 million. Now, I believe that it's 45 million plus add-ons that would take the deal to 55 million pounds, and that Brentford have rejected that. Now, we all know how negotiations work. So Mbeumo clearly wants to go. Clearly wants to go to Man United. Why wouldn't he? So that would completely make sense. I'm just going to see, sorry, what Ben Jacobs has said. People are telling me about Ben Jacobs. 1 second. Let me just get his. There we go. There's this Ben Jacobs. I never know if I trust Ben Jacobs as much as I do the others. Let's have a look. Okay, we'll go to Ben Jacobs in a minute after we've talked about Mbeumo. Mbeumo to Man United is a no-brainer for the player, right? It's a no-brainer. You're leaving Brentford, small club. He's done bloody brilliantly there the last 3 years. He's getting better and better. But leaving Brentford to go and join one of the biggest clubs in the world, whatever we say about Man United, they are one of the biggest clubs in the world. They might not be in the best moment right now, but they are one of the biggest clubs in football. Joining them is a no-brainer from his point of view. But again, Brentford know that Mbeumo's got 2 years left on his contract, right? If you have 2 years left on the contract, let me just check that actually. I might be making that up. I'm sure it was 1 or 2 years. So we're looking at Brian Mbeumo, transfer market. So Brian Mbeumo has got, bear with me, Brian Mbeumo has got 1 year left on his contract. Now that completely changes what I was about to say. He's got 1 year left on his contract, according to transfer market, right? But he has got an option. The club have got an option of 1 year. So in essence, it takes it from a 1 year to a 2 year, right? So Brentford have got to play the game. Do you accept 55, 60 million right now? Do you? Or do you hold on to him? Do you hold on to him? And next year, the value goes what? From 55, 60 down to what? 30? I don't know. Do they extend the option? All of these different scenarios. For me, I think they probably will find a way to get this over the line. If they've signed Cunha. If they get Mbeumo, there's reports that they might get Gyökeres. Now, again, I don't know. Reports, rumors, stories, hearsay, all of these different things you never, ever know. But what we do know is if they get Cunha and Mbeumo and Gyökeres, Man United are going to be a completely different prospect next season. They truly are. They're going to be a massive, massive threat to everyone with that forward line. So let's have a look at Ben Jacobs that people are asking to see. And by the way, we're going to have one of these every day at 3 p.m. That's how quick the transfer market moves. We're going to have one of these every day at 3 p.m. Who knows? Maybe some of them might even have some Spurs transfer news in there, because so far we've seen nothing concrete other than the fact that apparently we're in talks with Matisse Tell. So here's Ben Jacobs. Let's see what this guy's saying, shall we? So Ben Jacobs. Here we go. So Ben Jacobs has said what? We know that one. We know that one. Here we go. So 15 minutes ago, here you go. Here you go. Victor Gyökeres is open to Man United even without Champions League football. No approach to Sporting yet, and several other European and Saudi suitors. But Ruben Amorim still in touch with a player. Sporting will sell for around 70 million euros. Let's be fair. Let's find out what that is in pounds. Here we go. 70 million euros in pounds. 59 million pounds. That is what we paid, any Spurs fans out there, that's what we paid for Dominic Solanke. This guy is a powerhouse. This guy is a goal scorer. If Gyökeres and Buemo and Cunha are the front three for Man United next season, be very aware. One game a week, I'm putting them right up there, getting back into Champions League football. As Rob Welsh says, Cunha, Gyökeres, and Buemo, front three. That is deadly. He's got 92 goals in 2 seasons. Big up, Angus. Thank you for that. That is mad. That is absolutely madness. Man United again showing big club without European football. Tottenham Hotspur, wake up, learn a little bit, learn a thing or two from Man United. Again, I was told that if Spurs beat Man United in the Europa League final, that they were dead, that they were buried, and they're going on the warpath for signings. We're trying to sign Matisse Tell. Let's have a look what else Ben Jacobs has said. An hour ago, he's also talking about Victor Osman. Nuri, we know that one. Let's see if he's said anything that's different. Luis Diaz, and Robbie Keane being a contender to replace Michael Carrick as the Middlesbrough manager. He understands that Keane impressed Borough owner Steve Gibson during a year-long spell as assistant manager and recently guided Ferencváros to the Hungarian title. Borough's list also includes Danny Roll, Rob Edwards, and Jon Dahl Tomasson. Steve Cooper has ruled himself out of the running. So guys and girls, listen, hopefully you enjoyed today's update. We'll be back tomorrow with another update because that's how quick things move. Guys, I'm hoping at some point that my club, our club, for any of the Spurs, start to get involved in this transfer market, in this window, because at the moment it's been really, really slow. Niall Higgins, you've said this a few times, so you clearly want me to read it. Did I see the vid from Big Shawnee on the ESPN reporter at Sava saying top players asked Ange to change his tactics? I don't doubt it. I've not seen it, but I don't doubt it. Guys, girls, I'm going to leave it there. Please smash the like button. We've had 350 of you in here for most of the time, only 106 likes. Guys, really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Take care. I'll be live tonight at 7:45 for Spain versus France in the semi-final of the Nations League. If you want to watch me at 4 p.m, I'm going to be on with, that's in 20 minutes. I'm going to be on with Dan Potts on the Football's 12th Man podcast. One of the best content creators out there is Dan Potts. Love him to bits. And if you want to see me at 5:30 talking all things Tottenham Hotspur, I will be live with Sean Butler from the Spurs Talk Show, another fantastic content creator. So, guys, girls, much love. Take care. And as always, shamelessly, come on, you Spurs.